K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com. Tornado season has once again arrived in the Southern Plains. Moore, Oklahoma, a suburb of Oklahoma City, has seen its share of Mother Nature's power. Southgate Elementary School in Moore suffered heavy damage after severe weather hit the area.
Debris everywhere, a roof destroyed, and a community left once again picking up the pieces. Southgate Elementary took a direct hit in Wednesday night's tornado.
About 10 classrooms at Southgate Elementary in Moore have either structural or water damage. Citizens can help the rebuilding process by donating to Southgate teachers as they work to request the items they need to rebuild their classrooms. Please help by going to donorschoice.org. This organization helped raise $600,000 for the Moore community after the May 2013 tornado. Also, contact your local Red Cross chapter. This has been a public service announcement from your friends at K98talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, happy Tuesday evening. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday. Sorry, the promo or the public service announcement threw me off because I was thinking, dang, that was a week ago. But no, it hasn't quite been a week yet. Anyway, thanks to everybody who tunes in. For those of you who tune in on a regular basis, what the hell's the matter with you? Don't you have better things to do with your life than to listen to this fat old guy prattle on? No, I'm just kidding. Thanks to all of you who tune in on a regular basis. If you missed it last night, I want to know where the hell were you? Entertainment did their debut here live on K98 Talk. Now, we've carried them for a while, but we only had the rights to the podcasts. But again, as I mentioned yesterday, I know some of you didn't listen yesterday, and you're wondering why you're listening now, but that's another story. Basically, we now have them with us live 2 nights a week. They were doing everything live Thursday nights back to back to back to back to back, as Jason liked to put it, and now that's kind of stuck in my head. Thanks, Jason. Anyway, so we now have on Monday nights, we'll have myself. Then we'll have The Right War with Liz and Taylor. Then we'll have Real Serious Nonsense. Then we'll have the Stafford Voice with Daniel Stafford. And then we will have the Liz Harrison Radio Show. All back to back to back to back to back. And then tonight, you get little old me. Then you'll get another episode of The Right War. Then we'll have the Voices of Global Freedom Radio replay. And then when that is done, I'll have a segment from an interview that I did a while ago that we're going to go ahead and air because we'll have about 20-some-odd minutes of dead airtime at some point tonight if I don't. So we're putting that up, and then we will have, again, the Liz Harrison show at its new normal time, which will be 10 o'clock-ish. And then that's Central, by the way, for all you guys that are like Eastern are going, wait a minute, that's when Daniel's supposed to be on Mondays. No, 11 Eastern, 10 Central. I run everything out of the Midwest, so most of the time if I'm giving you a time, it's going to be Central. I'm still adjusting to this whole worldwide access and hosts on both sides of the continent and yada, yada, yada. But our reach really is getting that cool. I have folks on the East Coast, I have folks on the West Coast, I have folks in the middle. It's just kind of awesome. Anyway, so if you missed it last night, Real Serious Nonsense had their debut. We haven't had our chat very long, so I have to say I was really, really impressed with, the fact that there was only like a few days' notice, still ironing everything out. And there were like 30, 35 people just in the chat room alone, and they had pretty good live numbers last night, too. Actually, I hate to say it, but their live numbers kind of beat most of ours. But then again, they've been doing this for a while, and I'm just glad to finally have them somewhere where I hope they feel like they belong. And they have, speaking as the general manager, not just the show host for the moment, you guys in the Politainment crew, you have a home for as long as you want it. I'm not going to make you stay, although, never mind. that might get me in trouble. But anyway, it was great last night to have them. Clay and Angie did a great job. The show, I actually had to clean off my computer screen a couple of times because they had me laughing so hard. And I don't think I'd ever noticed before, because honestly, it was kind of a pain for me to do live radio, then go eat dinner, and then try to get onto the 405. And I'd only catch bits and pieces here and there because everybody was all on the same night. So I'd never actually been able to listen to a live broadcast before in its entirety. So that was really a lot of fun. So I'm glad to have them over here. I'm kind of glad that everybody's coming on a little bit earlier than what they used to, and it's kind of divided up. So now not only do you get to hear them live every week, now it's divided up enough where you're not going, well, I'm going to be busy this week, so I'm going to miss the whole thing. Not only that, but we do have their podcast available on our Spreaker channel. Now, since they don't belong to us, I'm going to leave it up to them how long we leave them up there, because they do put their stuff on their SoundCloud page. So if you're ever wondering where to find them, make sure you go there. We want them to get as much credit as we can. We love having them here, but we also don't want to hog all the spotlight because, K98 Talk is a great place. I try to make it that way on purpose. I try to make sure that everybody feels at home. But at the same time, I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, oh no, you have to mention my station every 5 seconds you're on the air. And you have to do this and you have to do that. And no, you can't tell folks that you have your stuff on your SoundCloud page because I want them to go to our site. Yeah, I'm not one of those guys. So anyway, enough patting them on the back and enough tooting my own horn. But if you missed it last night, you really should go check it out again. Your choice as to whether you use our Spreaker page or their SoundCloud page. And like I said, I'll talk to them later this week and find out how long they want us to leave the individual episodes up. But with some of the things we're trying to do behind the scenes, I'll need to leave them up for at least a little while. But we will hash all of that out later, and I'm going to stop talking about it on the air. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, a couple things to go over, because I've noticed I don't do this very much, and I think I need to get in the habit of doing it, because I'm used to just diving right in, giving you the information, and it's kind of like this big hit-and-run thing, but I don't really tell you enough about where you can find me in case you actually want to hang out and talk once in a while. So these are all the places you can find me right now. If you want to do the old-school method and send me an email, you can hit me up at ricky@thesparkradionetwork.com. That email is always up during the live shows, so I can actually respond to you if you email to me. Also, I have my Twitter feed, which is usually up during the live show. I'll have to check in a second to make sure I have it up, but that didn't sound right. All right. I'll have to check to make sure that it's actually ready to... I'm just going to stop, because no matter how I put this, it's going to sound wrong. Okay, so anyway, double_R_OKC. Go there, give it a follow. You can also follow the station. It's at K98talk.com, or actually, I think it's just at K98talk. I do use that account some, but I'm on my my actual one with my name on it a lot more often. Also, if you are a fan of Facebook, you can follow the show at www.facebook.com/America is Coming Off the Rails. You can also follow yours truly at www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. I guess it's like and friend request on Facebook, huh? Not follow. Can you tell I spend most of my time on Twitter anymore? But I just gotta say, it's so much less filtered. And everybody has a Twitter account, even if it's some little staffer reading it. If you want to vent to a politician, Twitter's the place to go. Because at some point, somebody's going to read it. And even if you're making a staffer cry, heck, for 3 seconds, it makes me feel better. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Did I just say that out loud? Never mind. I'm sorry. I thought that conversation was happening in my head. Okay. So, things that we need to talk about today. I guess we need to finish off with what I was going to talk about yesterday, and then we ran out of time. So let's play this clip real quick. Okay, so every time this happens, and actually I think I may have just messed up, so let me replay that clip, because I'm pretty sure I just did. Sorry for the dead air for like 3 minutes, or what is it, about a minute?
So, Peter, what do we know right now?
Well, following these statements from the Marseille-based prosecutor, we're hearing a harrowing testimony of the last moments of this Germanwings flight from Barcelona to Dusseldorf. Now, it seems that the co-pilot had locked the captain of the plane outside of the flight deck. We are hearing from the investigators who've looked at and listened to the tapes of the voice recorder that there was no response whatsoever to attempts from the captain to reach the co-pilot inside. Not one word was uttered from the co-pilot who was at the controls, but we can hear him on these tapes breathing normally. They are taking this to believe that the co-pilot was alive at the time of the impact into the mountain. In fact, one of the more distressing pieces coming out of this is as it gets closer to the time that the impact took place, we can hear, instead of knocking at the door, we can hear the door to the cabin attempted to be broken down, it sounds like. Also screams from inside the plane itself, and the alarms going off to indicate the proximity of the plane to the ground before what appears to be the first impact of the plane hitting the mountain. As it stands at the moment, though, this is just the raw facts that we know. There's no motivation has come out of these recordings, what we've heard. The Marseille-based prosecutor is saying that there's no reason to believe that this was any kind of terrorist act. However, at the moment, it does appear that this was a controlled action.
All right, so now that you guys actually got to hear it, I'm all like listening to it in my headset, looking at the levels going, something's not right. And then I got busy responding to a couple messages and forgot to go back and look again. So anyway, now that you actually got to hear the clip, sorry about that, folks. Every once in a while, there's just way too much blood in my caffeine stream. This happens to be one of those days. I have a question. Anybody else notice how the reporter, first thing he did, as soon as he was about to wind up the little bit that they talked about was, no proof or evidence that this is a terrorist attack. What the hell else would it be? I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, why is it, automatically if somebody wants to start saying, well, maybe this is a terrorist attack, somebody freaks out about it. There's all kinds of terrorists. Timothy McVeigh was a damn terrorist. Let's just get real. I mean, it's not like every terrorist on the planet is a Muslim. But at the same time, just because we're pretty sure this was probably some sort of a terror attack, all of a sudden we can't say that it's a terrorist attack. Or we can't even say, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. We're not sure, so we're going to try to find out. We'll not just, no, there's no way this is a terror attack. Can't possibly be one. Not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. Alright, so, did say that I at least wanted to talk about that for a second, and that's mainly what I wanted to say about it is, this was one of those stories where it was kind of bleeding into my subconsciousness the morning that the story first broke as I was waking up, so it took me a while to get sorted through it, sift through a lot of the pieces, and the simple fact of the matter is, the story is a mess. I mean, because first of all, you've got people screaming, you've got the pilot trying to break the door back down, and this dude is basically just slowly flying the plane into a mountain, and you're trying to tell me that most likely terrorism wasn't what was on his mind? I'm thinking if there were ways he wanted to go, there were probably ways he could have done it without taking everybody else with him. So the fact that we can't even call what is blatantly most likely a terrorist attack anymore a terrorist attack is one of the things that's really starting to piss me off. Believe it or not, it actually does somewhat tie into the topic for the remainder of the show, but we will deal with that here in just a moment. To try to get used to some of the newer shows that have come on in the formats that they keep, we're going to start trying to take breaks a little more often around here, mainly because it gives me an option to showcase some of the cool stuff that they do, and it gives me a second to get caught up on the messages and stuff now that we are getting to be a little bit more interactive and active. Speaking of which, if anybody is listening live and they do want to hang out, I did just pop myself into the chat. I'm not entirely sure I'm still there though, because it was dragging down my system, but I will try to pop back in here in a second and see if anybody's in there. Again, it's a new feature for us. The Polititainment crew have had one for a long time, so when I even started having the inkling that they might be coming over, I definitely wanted to make sure we had one for them. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as I start to try to take a break, somebody wants to try to call me. Alright, we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes, folks. Maybe.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane, because, like, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane Okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British
anyway,
Airways? It wasn't Jet
British
It
Airways.
wasn't Jet Poo?
It was.
Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story,
BM
if
Airlines.
we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman, because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's like out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There was an
Not
old woman
girls,
who
girls.
flew on jet poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
It's for our own cause. We got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets because there's no.
Hey y'all, this is Sam Dandy, also known as The Bunny, and you're listening to America Off the Rails.
Respect for fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the place.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. I do have to tell you, I did just get an update, so at some point this show may actually come to a close. I'm going to try to keep running for as long as I can, but got an issue going on, so I may have to duck out here. In the event that I do wind up dropping off, we'll have the show from last night up as a replay to finish everything off, and then everything else will remain as usual. But I am going to try to hang out with you for as long as I can until I find out for sure what's going on. Not really going to say too much else on the air about it, but just suffice it to say, anybody who's listening, send up some prayers. That would be a great thing. Okay, so back to what we were going to be talking about today, and that is, I couldn't find the actual story, but I keep seeing it on the news. So I found some other stories, some of them older, some of them newer, and I have a question, and this is an honest question, and I've asked it before. Nobody's been able to answer me yet. So I'm going to keep asking it till I get an answer, because I don't understand it anymore. For some reason, my slider bar for my volume keeps going back in the wrong direction. So anyone whose ears I just blew out, my apologies. All right, so now, why in this day and age, in the 21st century, does color still matter so much? Can anybody answer that question for me? Because I don't understand it anymore. We had folks that bled, fought, and died to bring civil rights and suffrage and everything else into this country, and they won. And yet, here we are this day and age, and we still have racism. And now we have what a lot of folks like to call reverse racism. When, let's just be completely honest, it doesn't matter what color you are. There are people that don't like other races. Now, this is one of my questions, and this is a question I've asked before, and I've been called a hater, a bigot, and everything else. Here's my question. Because, you know, you hear from the conservative side all the time that the reason that they don't condone homosexuality is because in their estimation it's a choice. It's a choice. Even though at the same time, a lot of folks like me will pop up and say, hey, maybe it's not a choice, you know. We don't fully understand what governs attraction. So maybe there are things that certain people are hardwired for. And this is where the hate mail is going to come in. And this is another, and trust me, there's a reason I'm going here. But if we start looking at what is obviously and plainly a behavior, and we say, hey, it's not their fault, they're wired differently than us, can people not start making the same arguments for almost everything else? And I know some of you right now are thinking of the direction I'm going, and no, I'm not going to talk about bestiality and all that other stuff, because there's a big difference there. And let me tell you what it is. That doesn't involve the consent of a second party or a third party or a fourth party or how many sheep you decide you want to party around with. But the simple fact of the matter is, there are things, and let's look at it this way. What if, for some people, racism isn't a choice? We don't fully understand what governs attraction. Does that mean that we may not fully understand what governs repulsion? So are there people that are racist by nature, or are there people that are racist by birth? And again, I'm going to be called all kinds of names. I'm really getting used to it, because now that I'm getting more popular on Twitter, dude, as soon as I say anything, somebody's all over me calling me an idiot. I'm like, okay, look, first of all, if the first thing that you say to me from the second I say anything to you is that I'm an idiot, I've already won the argument, because you've already resulted in name calling. I'm good with rational discussion. I will talk to you until I'm blue in the face, as long as you're willing to listen to me. But if you start name calling, it's over with, buddy. As far as I'm concerned, I won. And that happened again last night, because we were talking about some of the stuff that was talked about between my show and the others that were on last night. We brought up a very good point, which I have brought up yesterday repeatedly, and also again on Twitter. Where was the outrage when Bill Clinton signed the same law that everybody's up in arms about in Indiana? Where was it when Senator Barack Obama signed basically the same law or supported it as a senator in Illinois? What about the other 19 states that have legislations pretty much exactly like this one? You know, and I got called all kinds of names last night because I'm just obviously not seeing the truth. And let's look at the truth here. Let's be really honest. As far as I'm concerned, this is the 21st century. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're red. I don't care if you're yellow. As far as I'm concerned, you can run around in a Barney costume. As long as you treat people like they're individuals and you treat people like they matter, I could give a crap less what you look like. What color you are, how fat you are, how thin you are, whether both of your eyes point in the right direction. Yeah, I gave myself a little nod there. Yeah, just saying. But anyway, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's what I don't understand anymore is how we as a nation have continued to keep allowing ourselves to not only be divided, but now we've gotten back to the point now where there's violence based on those divisions. And if you don't believe me, then let's start delving into some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. This one is pretty entertaining. This happened a few months ago. Actually, I think it's been about a year. But it was comparable to the story that I was kind of looking for in the first place, and I'll go into that one in a minute, too.
A witness who does not want to reveal her identity for fear of her safety says Friday night she was driving down Sutel Drive near Lem Turner with her fiancé and saw a group of teenagers beating a man.
We seen a whole bunch of African-American kids, you know, beating and stomping on an elderly Caucasian guy. And he had bags and everything. He couldn't even defend himself because there were so many kids.
The witness says she immediately dialed 911 and turned around to go help the man.
Between 10 or 15 kids. It could have been more because they just scattered like ants when we turned back around.
The police report identified the victim as 56-year-old Peter Richard Lockhart. He was transported to Shands for abrasions on his left wrist and face. The witness says Lockhart told her he had just gotten off the city bus and was going home with his groceries.
The victim told police he was approached from behind and he was beaten with a stick. The witness said at one point he was laying flat on the ground and almost looked like he had crawled out to the road where people can see him.
The witness says she feels brave. She and her fiancé say if they had to do it all over again, they still would have stopped despite the risks.
If they see something like this, help someone out, because that could have been you, or that could have been one of your family members or your father or one of your grandfathers. How would they feel if somebody out there beating their grandmother or grandfather doing something like that? I mean, what goes around comes around.
All right, so that's the end of that one. And like I said, that was kind of comparable to the story that I keep seeing. I've seen it on the news about 2 or 3 times this week while I've been getting ready for the day job in the mornings. There's apparently a story, and I don't remember where it was out of, but a white gentleman was sitting on a public transportation, a bus, and a younger black gentleman came up and asked him, a younger African-American gentleman, don't want to piss anybody off, came up and asked him what his thoughts were on the matter of Ferguson. The gentleman basically just said that he didn't really feel the need to answer, and since the older gentleman wouldn't give the younger gentleman his opinions, he proceeded to beat the crap out of him right there on the bus. Is this what Martin Luther King died for? I mean, I'll say it again. I'm an old fat white guy, but Martin Luther King is one of my heroes. Always has been. Because he stood up when nobody else would. He stood in the gap. Which is what a lot of us are trying to do now. And I'm not trying to equate myself with Martin Luther King, so do not get this twisted. All I'm saying at this point is this country is a mess. This country is a nightmare. I don't know what's happened. It's like I wake up every day and I'm a little further away from the country that I recognize. It's like a bad episode of Sliders. Anybody remember the original few episodes of Sliders where as he first started sliding, he basically would go through the portal and the world would be pretty close, but there would be subtle differences, and then the further he got away from his original or his origination point, the more twisted it got. That's kind of how I'm feeling every day when I get up. And let me just recap some of the reasons as to why. We now have a president who basically will hold a press conference when someone gets beaten who's a civilian, but cops get shot, and he sends out Twitter announcements. Oh, my deepest, sincerest condolences to the family. I mean, come on. I mean, when did everything go sideways? And I mean, so far sideways at this point, I'm not sure we're ever going to get it back. Can I just be completely honest for a second? Because I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to lay down and quit. I will fight until I no longer have any breath. But I'm just wondering, am I fighting for anything that matters anymore? When you hear about stories like this, and all of this Black Lives Matter, and Atlanta brunch crap, and all of this other stuff that's going on, and none of it fucking matters. None of it matters. It's all a distraction. Do you want to know why it's a distraction? Do you want to know why they want us so pissed off at each other? Do you want to know why they want us at each other's throats? Because they're giving away our rights and our freedoms at every turn, and nobody's paying attention. Because we're too busy focusing on laws in Indiana that are the same as fucking laws in 19 other states, and one that the President of the United States passed in the 90s. The guy that was the first African-American president, according to the NAACP, if memory serves, passed the same damn bill. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's lit their hair on fire. Nobody's running around screaming racism. Oh, we can't do that because that's Bill Clinton. It's different when it's a Democrat. Oh, my God. But, yeah, somebody conservative does something like this. Oh, they're being a bunch of racists. Have you motherfuckers forgot that we're the ones, Republicans are the ones that ended slavery? I don't want to hear this BS about the shift and how one party all of a sudden overnight became the other one. You guys fell for the biggest fucking con job ever. The biggest con job ever. Because LBJ, if you go back and you'll read the actual history books, that man was a racist. That man had closed-door meetings where he told everybody he was turning against his own party, but he was doing it for a very specific reason. He was doing it because he knew, and he was right. He knew that if he could get all of these things passed under the Democratic banner, he would have the African-American vote for the next 100 years. Except he didn't use the word African-American. He used the word that you guys get really pissed off over when white folks say it. But you guys can throw it around like it's nothing. And I understand that. It's your banner. It's like me making fun of myself because of people that used to pick on me. It's a coping mechanism. I get it. And I was mad at the world about a lot of things that had happened to me. I'm not anymore because I found a way to cope with them. So I understand it. Believe me, I understand it. But if you're gonna... I mean, it's like me saying, well, I can pick on myself, but you can't pick on me. No, really? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. None of this does. None of it. We're now basically beating the crap out of people over opinions. I mean, look at all the things that have happened in the last few years. The knockout game. I mean, how many of you were walking around and any time anybody started walking towards you, didn't matter what color they were, didn't matter what they were wearing, if they started walking towards you and they got too close, the first thing you're thinking is, holy crap, is this guy about to start swinging on me? Because everybody was hearing about it on the news. I mean, let's get real, shall we? Hate is hate. I don't care what color your skin is. If you want to try to tell me that a black person can't be a racist because in your twisted, politically correct world, only the people that are in positions of power can be a racist, then you're full of crap. Can I just say that right now? You are full of crap. But thanks for playing. Let's move along because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the division. I'm tired of the fighting. I'm tired of the arguing. And I'm tired of people getting their asses beat on a bus because they don't want to give somebody their opinion. And I'm tired of people being attacked for no fucking reason. I'm tired of it. I mean, this story that we just played a minute ago, what was the motivation for this group of black kids to beat the crap out of an old man trying to carry home his groceries? Was it, ooh, look, it's National Beat Up a White Guy Day? Or, ooh, it's National Let's Step on a Cracker? I mean, what the hell? What kind of world are we living in? I don't understand this anymore. And there's more where that comes from, folks, but we're going to have to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back, because I can't keep talking. Not only that, but we just blew through the top of the hour break. So, or no, I guess this is the bottom of the hour. Anyway. Rambling. Show host is a rambling. We'll be back in a minute. Yeah. Just kidding. Okay, maybe. Where did I go? There I am. All right, we'll be back, folks.
Also known as The Bunny, and you're listening to America Off the Rails.
Hey, it's Cliff Davis from KLCI FM, the best radio station in the world. Coming soon. Stay tuned.
Tornado season has once again arrived in the Southern Plains. Moore, Oklahoma, a suburb of Oklahoma City, has seen its share of Mother Nature's power. Southgate Elementary School in Moore suffered heavy damage after severe weather hit the area.
Debris everywhere, a roof destroyed, and a community left once again picking up the pieces. Southgate Elementary took a direct hit in Wednesday night's tornado.
About 10 classrooms at Southgate Elementary in Moore have either structural or water damage. Citizens can help the rebuilding process by donating to Southgate teachers as they work to request the items they need to rebuild their classrooms. Please help by going to donorschoice.org. This organization helped raise $600,000 for the Moore community after the May 2013 tornado. Also, contact your local Red Cross chapter. This has been a public service announcement from your friends at K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Are you conservative in a world of liberal?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not alone. Hey, I'm Daniel Stafford, host of the Stafford Voice, and I'd like to invite you to tune in each Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, where I'll break down the events of the week, and together we'll learn about how they affect you. So, sit back and get ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly of talk radio right here on K98 Talk.
Good day to you. As a distinguished gentleman, I need a serious source of news. One that doesn't waste my time when I'm enjoying my tea and crumpets.
White powdered!
One that catches the most important stories of the day.
the poop plane.
Wasn't jet poop?
Real serious nonsense. Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
Gonna just like move in another direction towards the classy.
We'll be classy and not say dildo.
They're completely different from shows that aren't.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
Calls, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause it's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect or fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the place.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and we've been talking about today why. Why does color matter? And I have to tell you, I'm still going to stick by it. A lot of the stuff that we're dealing with right now is a distraction. I ended a conversation with a liberal on Twitter last night with a parting shot and a last thought of there is no spoon. And the reason I reference that is because if you remember, in The Matrix, it's basically when Neo figured out that everything around him was basically a distraction. That's exactly what's going on right now. They are using so many different distractions, and they're hitting with us with so many all at once, we don't have any way to keep up. Because let me tell you exactly what's going on. The Obama administration is single-handedly trying to destroy Hillary Clinton. Which, hey, I'm fine with that. I love me some Democratic infighting. It's about time they got some of it too. But I'm just saying, there's a reason they're doing that. Do you not realize that the real reason they're trying to do all this Iran thing and get these peace talks rammed through is, one, it'll redeem Obama for the fact that he was given the Nobel Peace Prize before anybody even knew who the hell he was. And two, it'll be a really good shot for John Kerry to get said Peace Prize. Anybody want to hazard a guess as to why John the Raisin Kerry wants a Nobel Peace Prize? Because he's never given up on his dream to become president. You've heard it, you've seen it, you've read the articles just like I have. The Obama family and the Clinton family, they despise each other. Most of the reason that Hillary Clinton is in so much trouble right now is because of the fact that Valerie Jarrett was allowed to turn a bunch of shit loose that she probably should have kept to herself. You know, I mean, how many other politicians break those rules? And I'm not trying to exclude Hillary Clinton, believe me, I am not, because I think at this point, because of what we know now, we now fully understand why Benghazi was the shitstorm it was, and how come it developed so quickly, because she was using an unsecured, non-government servered email to conduct government business. So everybody, including the Chinese, knew everything, including what she had for lunch, and who her lunch dates were going to be, because she was all up in everybody else's Kool-Aid on an unsecured server. So I think that's really probably why Benghazi blew up as badly as it did. Is that ever going to be proven? Probably not, because Benghazi how many years ago was that now? Hell, at this point, I don't even remember. It feels like 1 and 20 all at the same time, because it's just been one of those things where we're never going to get an answer, no matter how many times we beat the drum, no matter how many times we stand up and scream for the truth. It's just, I'm really starting to feel like it's not going to happen. I'm really starting to feel like the guy, and I hate to say this, but Joey Pants in The Matrix, I'm starting to feel like that guy. Because I started out with the best of intentions, and I was going to fight, and I'm going to keep fighting, and then every day I wake up, and I'm like, why did I not take that blue pill? I just want to be a regular guy again and go back to sleep and focus on keeping up with the Joneses and making sure I've got a roof over my head. Instead of doing all of that, and trying to wake up everybody else too. I mean, because that's exactly what this feels like anymore. And it's exhausting being out here. I'm not going to speak for anybody else because there are plenty of people out here with me. I'm not saying I'm trying to do it by myself. But it is exhausting being one of the people that's out here screaming at the top of our lungs going, hey, the world is on fire and you guys won't wake up. I mean, look at what's going on with Iran. Look at it. Look closely. Look at the mess that we are about to make in Iran. We have already basically been giving them everything that they want, and they are still taking a hardline position because they immediately want the sanctions gone. They don't want their fuel rods going to Russia, and who the hell had that bright idea? Because Lord knows we can really trust Putin right now, the ex-KGB agent with delusions of grandeur who wants to resurrect the Soviet Union. Yeah, that's a really good guy to send a bunch of unrefined uranium to, because he'll turn it into fuel rods and send it back. Sure he will. Right after he makes us all glow in the dark. I mean, none of this makes any sense anymore. There's one last clip I have to play, and then we're going to talk about that, and then we'll finish things up, because I didn't realize it, but we're already almost to the end of the show. Where does an hour go? I mean, you know, you sit down, you plan out a show, you're like, hey, this will work, we'll have plenty of time to talk, and then you look up, and it's over.
A family in Providence unleashes their dogs on ABC6 reporter Abby Nesgoda. Now, Abby tried to talk to the mother of the teen shot at a graduation party not long after a 16-year-old turned himself in for that shooting. It was at that point when that woman set her dogs on the attack.
How do you feel about that? A simple question, and this is the response we get. Are you going to throw rocks? We were on a public street in Providence to get reaction from a mother after the man accused of shooting her teenage daughter at a graduation party had just turned himself in. A 16-year-old has turned himself in. Okay, that's good. But Melissa Lawrence turned violent herself. Are you going to throw rocks? First comes the rock. Give me my bag. Barely missing our photographer's head, scraping his arm. We think the interview is over and we're about to leave. Instead, Lawrence comes out wielding a baseball bat. Why are you attacking us, ma'am? Get away from me! Then she sicks her two dogs on us. One bites my forearm, then I take off running, dropping my mic as they chase me down the street, biting and scratching. Eventually, I make it to a backyard 3 houses down. Lawrence finally calls her dogs back. Come on, Zayna! But not before cursing at us one last time. And get the away from my house! You dumb white Put that on! In Providence, I'm Abby Nesgoda, ABC6 News.
Now, I do want to let you know that Abby was on public property the entire time. She never went in her home. She was attacked on the street. Abby had to get a tetanus shot. A police report has been filed. There is a warrant out for Lawrence's arrest. It is now filed.
All right. So just had to throw that one in there, too, only because it goes along with some of the other craziness we've had going on lately in between the Ferguson incident and the Atlanta brunch and a few other things. And actually, I do have an article I want to reference for a couple minutes. Going to give credit where credit is due. This was sent over to me by Stacy Lennox. She is a writer for War Media. She also co-hosts a couple of shows over there. She sent me an article today that she wrote up, and it's called Black Brunch Atlanta. This is not your grandpa's lunch counter. The city of Atlanta saw very few disruptions following the grand jury verdict in Ferguson, Missouri that sparked nationwide protesters under the banner of Black Lives Matter. In fact, the image above is the biggest disruption I could find, and that was when it looks like probably maybe 70 people blocked an interstate. I don't even think it was that many. But despite the lack of fervor locally, actually I guess it says maybe a dozen, above is the photo of the biggest disruption I could find online. Maybe a dozen people blocked I-75 for a little while. No fires, no looting, no significant protest. Despite the lack of fervor, locals around the original movement, Black Brunch Atlanta, has appeared in... Despite the lack of fervor locally around the original movement, Black Lives Brunch Atlanta has appeared in eateries in and around the city for the second time in several weeks. For those not aware of this campaign, it is where protesters enter an eating establishment somewhere between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., assemble and begin reading the names of blacks killed during confrontation with police officers. It is played out in New York, San Francisco, and other large metros throughout the country, because apparently eating a big mid-morning meal on a Sunday morning with friends and family creates what protesters call a white space. Isn't that kind of racist? And she has that in quotation marks. The protesters only photograph white customers, interpret their irritation or lack of attention as being uncomfortable, and whine on Twitter about the management staff of the establishment trying to intimidate them. The Atlanta version played out in a weak whimper on social media for the second time, and I decided to take a harder look. The first thing I noticed is that Avery, a Morehouse College student who appears to be at the forefront of these protests locally, is taking his cues from a familiar Ferguson protest leader named DeRay McKeeson. And then there's a tweet from Avery, who I will not give his handle out to DeRay. And the protest will continue indefinitely. Dear Atlanta, listen up. #BlackBrunchATL. DeRay McKesson is a former senior director of human capital for Minneapolis Public Schools who relocated permanently to St. Louis after the death of Michael Brown, with apparently no other job than stoking the fires of racial division nationwide. I often say there is no profit in peace, and Mr. McKeeson's abrupt career change, along with others who have come to it full time, tells me there must be some money in the movement. My suggestion for Mr. McKesson is to focus on Ferguson, the town that got destroyed by a false hands up, don't shoot meme. Use your skills to organize people around building it back up. To be a town where business might like to settle and reopen, improving the life there for everyone. The next tweet is typical of the Black Brunch protest, being what I interpret among some diners as being generally annoyed at being interrupted, is characterized as uncomfortable. If I were sitting down to a meal and people of any race came in shouting about anything, I'd get up and leave. And how dare you remove your children from something they may be too young to understand? The nerve of you when all you wanted was breakfast. Sorry, Miss Blaze. If it's my child, I will decide when they are old enough to understand such complexities, and please focus on your home state of Texas. Even owners and managers are not allowed to ask protesters to leave private establishments without somehow being portrayed as trying to intimidate them. Personally, I see nothing intimidating about this manager's behavior. Mostly what I noticed from the social media commentary was that very few of those commenting were actually from Atlanta. Accounts that responded to my comments were from as far away as California and New York, but were somehow all intimately familiar with Atlanta politics. Or maybe not so much, so I decided to be helpful. First, let's look at the political players in the city of Atlanta. At the top is Mayor Caslam Reed. He has been the mayor of Atlanta since 2010. Prior to that, he served in the Georgia legislature for 11 years. His civic leadership has gained national recognition. Since you can't see his picture, I'll let you know he is an African American. Reed was preceded by Shirley Clark Franklin, who began her term in 2002. She was the first female mayor of Atlanta and the first black female mayor in any southern city. The Atlanta City Council is made up of a wonderfully diverse group of 16 representatives. You can learn more about the individual members here, and if you want to go look, you can pull up this article. It is at newsninja2012.com. And then there is the most of the names read during Black Brunch events nationwide are black men killed by law enforcement. Meet Atlanta's police chief George Turner, who has held this position since 2010. Under his leadership, by 2013, Atlanta boasted its lowest felony rate since 1969. Here is the graduating class of 2013 from the Atlanta Police Academy. Members of the department participate in several community policing programs, including neighborhood watch and crime prevention programs, as well as youth mentoring and athletics programs. A good portion of those officers are people of color, and you can look at the pictures again, linking to the story. The point that we're trying to make, and the point that all of us are trying to make, is it's really easy to pull out one group of people and start demonizing them, and right now that's what's going on with police officers, and again, it's happening as a distraction. This is something everybody can latch onto because nobody likes the police. I don't understand when and how that happened, but nobody likes the police. the police are supposed to be shining beacons, an example of folks that you can go to when you're in trouble, but somehow we as a society demonize them and vilify them, much like we've done the American soldier. So I just want to say this as someone who's been in a uniform. To all of you still wearing the uniform, whether you be private security, private law enforcement, private bodyguard, because some of you do still wear uniforms, or police officers, bounty hunters, whatever you do to make the world a better place, hats off to each and every one of you for continuing the fight when some of us who started the fight with you could not continue. Also, to all of you that are serving every day, and you're away from home, and you miss your families, and you're overseas, and you're doing what a lot of us can't do, and you're standing for those of us who respect you, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Because what you guys do does not go unnoticed. People do not tell you enough, and you, ever since Vietnam, you guys that are soldiers have been vilified for such a long time, and I really thought we were starting to get away from that. And then all of this hate and vitriol came out about Chris Kyle, but Bo Bergdahl is this national hero. I just, when did up become down and left become right, and everything that was good now all of a sudden become bad? Because it's all the symptoms of the same problem. If we are so busy focusing on our differences, focusing on all the things that make us different than the people that are around us, we don't notice how much we are the same. It doesn't matter what color we are on the outside. You cut us open, we all look the same. We all have red blood. Our organs are all generally in the same place. We are humans. We need to remember that. It doesn't matter anymore whether you're liberal, conservative, white, black, purple with polka dots. We have more in common with each other than we do these idiots that we're letting run our lives. Because we have given over control to vocal minorities. And the vocal minorities are the dangerous ones. The silent majorities are the ones that matter, but we're the ones that largely remain irrelevant because we don't allow ourselves to do anything. This has to change. We have to make people realize that in this day and age, in the 21st century, color doesn't freaking matter anymore. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, it matters who you are on the inside. If what you do is a bad thing, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, purple, or other. If what you do is a good thing, it shouldn't matter if what you do is white, black, purple, or other. The difference is, it's all about the content of your character, not the color of your skin. That's what King said many, many years ago, and we're still there. We're still in the middle of this struggle because they don't want us out of it. They want us focusing on our differences. They want us fighting amongst each other. They want us fighting because rich people have more things than the poor people. White people have better lives than black people. Asian people have better lives than who the fuck cares? I mean, the simple fact of the matter is we're all caught in a distraction. And it's a loop, and it never changes. And every day we get sucked back into it again. They are slowly giving our rights away, left, right. It doesn't matter. Again, look what's going on in Iran. Look at what the Congress that is now predominantly Republican told us they were going to do when they got here. What is this now, March? Middle of March? I'm sorry, last day of March. They've been in power now for 2.5 months. What have they done? 4 letters. Rhymes with it. Because that's what they've done. Doesn't matter anymore. Left, right. If they're not doing their jobs, they got to go. If all our media can do is gin each other up, get everybody pissed off over color, then it's time for them to go. This needs to stop being about ratings. Media used to mean something. It used to mean bringing people the truth. It used to mean standing up for something. It used to mean having integrity. We don't have that anymore in our media. You don't believe me? Look at Brian Williams. Look at all the stories that are coming out now about Bill O'Reilly. I would like to think those aren't true. But I don't know Bill O'Reilly well enough. All I can tell you is I can see what he does in his show. If he's making shit up as he goes along, he deserves whatever happens to him. I don't claim to be a news reporter. I never will. I'm a guy who brings you opinions. That's my job. That's what I do. I bring you some facts, I let you make decisions, and I talk to you about what's led me to my decisions. And let me tell you what's led me to my decisions when it comes to all this crap going on in Indiana and Atlanta and Iran. All of this is a distraction to keep us from focusing on what the hell is going on in Iran. Because we are about to hand them nuclear weapons. And I don't know about you, but I'm about to be a grandfather. And technically, I already kind of am a grandfather. And I really don't want my grandchildren to grow in the dark. let's just be real. Don't want the grandkids to grow in the dark. Or glow in the dark. Alright, anyway, folks, at this point, we have now run over because I couldn't stop yelling. Like I said, an hour goes by way too quickly. At this point, we are going to shut things down. I'll have the right war up here in just a second, and then we'll have everything else running on behind it. You guys have a great rest of your night. I am Rick Robinson. This has been America Off the Rails. And don't forget, I will not be on tomorrow night. I know some of you are crying, others of you are cheering. Grouchy has moved to his new, what I hope to be permanent time slot of 6 to 8 Central Time here on Wednesday on K98 Talk, because he is now the opening act for the one, the only Sam Janney, a.k.a. Politibunny, who will be on right after him. And then we will have Jason DeWilkins batting anchor and cleaning everything up. And then right after he's done, we will have the Liz Harrison show back over from VLR. And then we will run into the late night in the Midlands crew like we do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the Open Eyes show with Ira. And then the late night in the Midlands guys. That will typically be running from 11 to 1 and about 1 to 4 Central. So, basically, we are now the place where you can find everything good from the Spark Radio. Some of it better than others. Then there's me. Then we have Polititainment. Then we have Vigilant Liberty Radio. We also have the guys from Voices of Global Freedom Radio. We have Tom O'Halloran, who has started doing podcasts with us. Won't do a live episode because, I don't know. Can't give him a hard time, though, because it's really hard to do the number of shows that I do in a week. So I understand why he only wants to do 3, and that is quite a bit of work. So I hope you guys are tuning in and checking those out. He's taking up one of our daytime slots. He's on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays here at noon. We'll be right back here in just a second with the Right War, and I'm going to call it quits for the night. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and thanks to everybody who tuned in.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane, because, like, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane, okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British Airways? It wasn't Jet. It wasn't Jet Poo?
It was.
Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story, if we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman, because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's like out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There was an old woman who flew on jet poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
All right, folks, well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. I'll be back with you Thursday night live with Wake Up America with special guest Rod Eccles, a political conservative talk show host who's now, from my understanding, about to go nationwide. So he'll be joining me and Grouchy for what I hope to at least make a monthly show every Thursday. Wake Up America. Maybe we can do it more often. Maybe at some point I can invite some of the newer folks to hang out with us too. But he'll be joining us this coming Thursday at my normal time slot from 6 to 7. All right, I'm out for the night. You guys take care. We'll be back with you on Thursday for Wake Up America, then back Friday for America Off the Rails.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man.